All right, so I wanted to say some things as we are working on this argument essay. Next week, obviously, is fall break, and campuses will be closed. You can still contact me via email and things like that if you need help. When we come back, we have one more class, or one more week of classes. As we're approaching the end of the semester, there's a couple things I want to say as we're wrapping things up. First of all, the rules for an incomplete, if we get to, the last couple weeks here and you can't finish your work for whatever reason, there's an emergency or an illness or whatever, I can only give an incomplete, like it says in the syllabus, if you are missing only 25% or less of the work. So if you haven't turned in half your work, I can't give you an incomplete. In that case, you would probably want to withdraw. If all we're missing is the last essay and, one of the blog posts or something, we can possibly do an incomplete if that's what you need. For withdrawals, I'm happy to approve withdrawals through the last week of classes. We cannot do that during exam week because the semester's over. So if you think you're going to need to withdraw to save your GPA or whatever it is, you need to make up your mind fairly quickly. Also, as we get to the end of the semester, don't ask for individualized extra credit. That's not fair for anybody. You have had multiple opportunities for extra credit, and if it's exam week and you realize you're going to get a C but you need a B for your GPA to keep your scholarship, there's kind of nothing I can do about it at that point. I can't give you an opportunity that I don't offer to the entire class. So there's certainly been enough extra credit available to where if you had cared about it, you would have done it. And if you needed a B to keep your scholarship, well, certainly I hope you would have asked for help along the way and not just, crossed your fingers and flinched and waited to see if you got the B. Hopefully you were proactive about it. During the last week of classes, there's not much that can be done. That should have been a priority the previous 14 weeks, right? I know that sounds harsh, but, that's just the way it is. As far as the argument essay, it is due, what do I have it on here? It's our last week. It is due to submit assignments on December 6th, so the very last day of classes. So you have time, but if you haven't got started on this, you got to get going because you have to do all your research. You have to read all the research. You got to develop your ideas. You got to write the thing. You got to revise the thing. This is 200 points, so this is 20% of the whole course grade. So if you bomb this, you're not going to get a B. You're not going to get an A most likely. Well, you certainly won't get an A. You might be able to get a B if you did extra credit. But this is very important. This is like our final exam. So don't wait till the last minute unless you're a masochist, I guess. In which case, have fun. The main things that I'm going to be grading this on are all the things that we've been talking about, all the things that we've been reading, all the things that we've been practicing in our blogs. So first of all, do you have a debatable thesis? That was blog 8, blog 9. We've said this multiple times that the thesis needs to be making a debatable stance on this. Your thesis should not be a question. Should 16-year-olds who commit a violent crime be put in a child's prison, a juvenile facility, or an adult prison? Nope, not a question. Don't make any announcement statements. In this essay, I will be discussing. I know you guys have been taught that in your high schools. It creates an informal tone. It draws attention to the fact that we're reading an essay instead of just talking about the topic. So no questions, no announcements, and it shouldn't just be an informative statement. It's very controversial whether 16-year-olds should be put in adult prisons or juvenile facilities. I still don't know what you think about it. You have to take that debatable stance and say, this should be done. This is wrong. This is right. We need to change this. You have to take that debatable stance. So I went through the blog 9s and put comments. If I told you it wasn't debatable, if I told you it was too broad a topic, too narrow a topic, please listen to what I said. So there's that. Also, blog 10 is talking about this balance of logos, ethos, and pathos. We don't know who our audience is, so we want to throw a wide net and try to appeal to them. Some of them will respond more to logic. Some will respond more to emotional appeals. Some will respond more to expertise and authority and experience. So you have to have that balance. So I'll be looking deliberately for those kinds of things. We've talked about the use of sources. So is your source credible? Have you incorporated it appropriately with quotation? Or have you summarized it adequately in your own words? And then regardless of how you quote or summarize, did you cite it correctly? So for your citation, both parts have to be correct, the in-text citation and the list on the works cited page. You have plenty of time to do this essay, to have 4 or 5 weeks to write a 5-page essay. We have lots and lots of time. I hope you're using it wisely. I can't help you if you're not, and you put yourself in a pinch. So our use of sources is a huge part of this. It's something that you have to be able to do correctly. So quotation, summary, and then your citation. Also at this point, if you're making grammar mistakes, I've told you several times on your essays, we've taken quizzes. You can tell that you bombed your apostrophe quiz or whatever. So your grammar has to be correct. Also, we should have an appropriate academic tone in here, and that includes point of view. So no second person point of view, only used first person, the I, me, my, if you're including your own experience and expertise as information. None of this, I believe such and such, to me it seems, we should, none of that to state opinion. First person is only appropriate when bringing in your own evidence, like, well, when I visited my aunt at the prison, this is what I saw. No second person, no you or your. That's not appropriate. So all of that needs to be worked out. We've talked about it, had quizzes, had blogs, had experiences on the essays where I've told you, look, you're doing this. You need to break that habit. I'm also going to be grading for your logical format. Did you pick an organization structure? On the assignment sheet, it says your format can be taking a position, a compare and contrast, searching for causes, proposing solutions. So each of these have specific logical journey that they have to take. If I'm going to, compare and contrast like we did with our first essay, I'm going to say, okay, this is what we do. This is what Finland does. These are the benefits of how they do it and the drawbacks. Here's the benefits and the drawbacks of how we do it. And so this is what we should do. You can't just say, okay, look at what we in Finland do. You have to take that debatable stance and say the U.S. needs to do it the way Finland does it, right? Searching for causes, you have to prove that the trend is happening. You have to prove or teach your audience, okay, that look how frequent sexual violence is. That, corrections officers are sexually assaulting prisoners. You have to prove what's happening. And then you have to say, okay, why is this happening? And then you make that argument to say, this is the primary reason this is happening. Because that's where your debate comes in. You can't just say, these are the factors like we did with the school shootings. That's just informative. You have to take the stance and say, this is the primary thing that's causing it to happen. Proposing solutions, you have to prove to me and teach to me that there's a problem, that, menstrual care products are used as punishment, withheld as punishment. Okay, teach me about it. And then say, okay, this is what we should do to fix it. This is the primary thing that would improve the situation the most. Or you may just take a position and say, this is wrong. Use of solitary confinement should be classified as cruel and unusual punishment. And then say, this is one reason why it's cruel and unusual. This is another reason, and this is another reason. So your format has to be logical, and it takes readers in a specific pathway through the topic in a way that makes sense. And then along with that, we have to make sure that our paragraphs are well-developed paragraphs, that we have a topic sentence and everything within that paragraph supports or explains or expands upon that topic sentence. Think of our paragraphs as rooms in a house, right? if you walked into the kitchen, you only expect kitchen things to be there. If there's a commode in the middle of the kitchen, or a lawnmower in the middle of the kitchen, or a horse in the middle of the kitchen, you'd be like, this does not belong here. So make sure that you have a topic sentence for your paragraph, and that your paragraph only discusses that one idea. If you shift to another idea, you create a new paragraph, right? We should have an understanding of that by this point in 101 at the college level. So these are the main things that I'm going to be focusing on while grading. Make sure that you reread the assignment sheet. This is supposed to be 5 pages, so your essay has to go to the bottom of the 5th page. Your works cited page starts on page 6. So I will be able to answer emails next week during Thanksgiving break, but I will not be on campus. But please ask me if you need any help, because that's what I'm here for. So have a great day.